whoa, whoa. Say whoa, 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 whoa. Ready now, me ready now. A time to share, a time to care, a time to happy. But the whole year just went and you forgot it. Too much disguising on your love. I know I come tell the eye about Merry Christmas. Lord, you need to give a little. You get your riddle. You need to show the people something more. Don't let the heart shiver when fear's driven and end up losing days. But I'ma make it, yeah. Youth's born for greatness, yeah. For you see I and I own cheddar with one amount of hard labor. You know see I and I own cheddar with one amount of hard labor. So till Santa him can stop get our youth from one. Oh you are big dreams that we are.
Welcome back again to Studio Galaxy 473 from Conforo in Paraclet, the new kid on the block. Remember always to share our program, tell your friends about it, like it, give us some blight, because we are a new kid on the block. We Grenadians like politics, but if you like politics, you must understand we must able to discuss issues in perspective. Sometimes we hear politicians come with some big plans. You must understand there are some big players in the world, You ever hear about the G7, United States of America, Canada, France, Japan, Germany, Italy, and the European Union? At one time it was 6, Canada joined, I think, in 1976. And then we had Russia. One time they say G8 because Russia claimed their democracy. So they include Russia. Well, from 1998 to 2014, Russia was involved in G8. Then they suspend or fire Russia in 2014 because of the annexation of Ukraine, Crimea. We must know that. You don't have to have no big education, whether in the rum shop or not. All of us in Grenada like politics. But we must understand that sometimes we are a pawn in big people game. Mm-hmm. And today we have Joshua with us. And Joshua going to tell us something about the economics.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Pierre, listeners, everybody, welcome. I'm glad to be here to discuss some of the issues that I think is very pertinent to our development in Grenada. Now, Mr. Pierre talked about the G7, the G8, or the G6. Now, these are the dominant country that set up the rules for economic development over the years. The Caribbean or Grenada at the time when these things were being organized and set up wasn't an independent state. Now, the key thing that we need to understand is what's known as the Bretton Woods Agreement. Now, the Bretton Woods Agreement came after the Second World War, and we had the International Monetary Fund, we had the World Bank, and we also had America appointed as the country whose currency we would use for international trade. And therefore, the US dollar tend to back most international trade. Now, what I want our listeners to understand, especially from Grenada, is this. This system that's been set up, the economic system that we operate in, was not designed to assist us or to aid us. It was really designed to exploit us. Now, in order to have the world continue as it is, we must have certain preconditions in place. So we must have places like Africa selling cheap commodity, because if Africa was to sell the commodities for the prices that they're really worth, that will mean prices in Europe, America, North America will have to rise, and the standard of living in Africa would rise. But the system is not really set up to do that. And just the same in Grenada. Grenada is set up as a supply colony to supply cocoa, nutmeg, banana, and some other goods. And Grenada doesn't set the price for its product. The price is set in the international market. So we are just kind of supplying commodities to maintain, the lifestyle of the European and the North American. Now, I've recently seen a more kind of closer to home impact on this kind of model. We've been looking at the citizen by investment in Grenada for a little while, and there's quite a few projects that's been funded by the citizen by investment. Now, I was looking at tourism and how much of the money in tourism actually stays in the country. And I was surprised to learn that it's anywhere between 85 and 95% of the money leaves the island. So you might be lucky to have 15% staying on the island, or 5%. Now, I thought to myself, how can we benefit from this tourism? A lot of people have been talking about linking tourism to agriculture, and it's a great idea. It's an idea that the World Bank supports, the IMF supports, and they say it gives us a lot of benefit if we can do that. But there's no real program to actually link tourism to agriculture in Grenada at the moment. What we have is a system where the investors come in, and they're not even using their own money now. They're using the CBI money to build these wonderful projects, and they say, oh, we'll give you employment. But I don't know how you could run a hotel without employment. You have to have employment. If you're running a business like a hotel, you have to have staff. So that's a given. But the way that it's sold is that we are getting employment, and you are giving us all the money that we need to build these hotels and to manage these hotels, and we are taking the vast majority of the profit elsewhere, and we are developing other places. Now, I think the rules of engagements are already set. There's probably little that we can do about it in terms of the CBI rules. But I think the time is right now, now that we see the impact of these things, whereby the minimum that we should be doing is linking agriculture to tourism. Tourists have to eat, staff have to eat. Grenada has the capacity, the potential to provide the food needed, the vast majority of food needed for these foreign direct investors and their hotels. What we need to do is to change our stance on how we operate this system. We now need to insist that the hotels who get every concession that they ask for, and probably more, we now have to ask them to actually work with the farmers to take the produce from Grenada to help strengthen the institutions that the farmers have, to apply contracts for the farmers so the farmers can say, Mr. Bank, I have a contract. I want to borrow 200,000. I want to get a greenhouse and I want to get labor because I can now supply this hotel with all the bananas that they want. So we have to move from a two-party system. CBI, foreign direct investors, building hotels, etc., enjoying the profit. We have to spread the profit now amongst the Grenadian community. So government really have to step in and insist that these hotels work with the farming community and other business communities in Grenada so that the products that they want can be supplied in Grenada. Sometimes, like if you want to take bananas from Grenada, for example, it takes probably about 9 months for the banana tree to grow. There has to be sensible planning whereby the leading period for those things, are properly organized. It's not good enough to be saying to Grenadians anymore, all you can't supply. The system really is rigged at the moment in favor of the investors and not a balanced system whereby the people of Grenada will benefit. The argument that we give you employment, I really don't buy that argument because you can't run a hotel without staffing. And if these investors had to get staffing from abroad, it'll cost them 10 times as much to pay the staff that they bring in. So I think we need a more equitable system in terms of this, the CBI program, and we need to put more emphasis on linking tourism to agriculture. Unless we actually make an effort to do those things, we will be forever on the sidelines complaining about what we don't have. I say with all humility, government have to step in and encourage the hotels to work with the farming community and other business communities so that Grenadians can actually have a stake in the CBI project. At the moment, it talks about all the money that comes in that people pay for their passport, etc., and government have. But the trickle down needs to be felt a little bit more.
We're not trickling down.
It's not trickling down. Well, government say they build bridges with it and they build infrastructure, etc. So we get the benefit indirectly. But there needs to be more direct benefit to the country. We need to stop all these containers of cabbage and carrots coming in. And we need to work and build an infrastructure with the farming community so we can actually make this a success. Sometimes systems are set up to fail, and the system that we operate in at the moment is rigged against Grenadians.
But in all fairness to the G7 and the Europeans, they didn't set up the system for you to benefit.
No, well, I know that, but what my argument is that we have become complacent in terms of just accepting systems and just carrying it on without ever examining it and see, is this system fit for Grenada? Is this system going to benefit Grenada? We seem to have lost our intellectuals who can really, write alternative paper, debate, and give alternative kind of critical thinking. We seem to gotten into this mode of we inherited a system and we're just following it. And the sad thing about it, we 50 years of independence. If we look back over 50 years, we will see that the system really hasn't worked for Grenadians.
Don't you believe that with better skills, talents, clout, negotiation, we could have benefited more from the system that exists?
Absolutely, but we never understood the system from day one. We just wanted jobs in the system, and the systems can only operate a small percentage of jobs. Had we had Grenada First agenda, these things we're talking about would have been dealt with ages ago. But we're just perpetuating a system that doesn't work, and as Einstein say, if you keep doing the same thing over and over,
you're getting the same result.
You're going to get the same result. But so it's a sign of madness.
Based upon the system, we have cocoa, nutmeg, fish, soursop that there is a market for.
There is a market for those things.
We don't control the price, but there is a market.
Yeah, but there's a market for that. But if you look at, what the Ghanaian, Prime Minister said, he said that the time for extraction and exporting our raw material is over. Everything will be secondary processed in Ghana and sold on.
Then
The money
does
is
he has a market for it? Because that might sound as a very idealistic, ideologically based program. But if your market is in Europe and Europe was buying from you raw products, unless you're part of the Belt and Road Initiative, so you know now China go buy it. Because next thing you could have it there and Europe will buy it.
Yeah. You see, one of the things that we haven't done very well, we haven't collected data to see how much soursop Grenadians need. We have one of the highest cancer rate in Grenada per capita. And one of the things that is often said is that soursop, can assist or aid in that anti-cancer.
But right now, it's not cancer we're studying it. It's US dollar, the market one. They don't bother about cancer. It's foreign exchange. What they want from soursop is a lot of US dollar. Soursop might bring about 14 million.
I'm not sure about the figure, but the figures, as I understood it, is very positive.
So shouldn't our government understand that you have these big players? I'm a little pawn. I can't make them change their economic policies because the economic policies is geared to their prosperity. But how do I maximize my energy, my objectivity, my profit from this buying they have made?
I think there is a need to step back as Grenadians and look at things like soursop, as you say. Look at the industry and look at, is that industry fit for purpose? Is it really benefiting Grenadians? Or is it benefiting maybe 4 or 5 people who export? So the farmers might be getting what? Maybe
$3.
$3, but the group I'm involved in, we pay $4 a pound.
Well, let's say $3.50.
Yeah, and the prices that are gotten in the U.S. is probably $4 US a pound. In some further regions, $7, $8 a pound, and sometimes depending on the scarcity, can shoot up to about $12 a pound. And some people in the industry currently are making good money in the industry, but is that money really spread amongst the farmers? I would argue no, it's not. It's spread amongst a few. And how do we change those systems?
We increase production of soursop.
Yeah, but many
we
people
increase pollination.
Yeah, and many people argue we need to go into that GCNA model, of that cooperative model, But what I can see with the GCNA model, the farmers haven't really benefited from the GCNA model. GCNA as an entity, a very wealthy entity. They have a lot of assets, but is the asset owned by the farmers?
No.
So we have to look at models that work for us. But before we can even disrupt the industry, we have to have correct data on the industry. If I knew you were going to talk about soursop today, I have good data on soursop, how much is being exported, etc., the kind of prices.
We're just broadsiding today. We want to provoke the public about topics that ought to be discussed.
Yeah.
In the rum shop, in the street, in the house, the farmers, when he's speaking to his children, we have to speak about that.
Yeah.
So we're just provoking the topics.
Yeah, well, soursop certainly, often I've heard it referred to as the green gold. And having been involved in soursop a little bit, I can say to you it's a very profitable industry in terms of the exporters. I'm not sure how profitable it is in terms of the farmers. So
at least the government getting the foreign exchange.
Yeah.
So the government don't care much about farmers. They're getting the foreign exchange in the country.
Yeah, I think sometimes the government are concerned about farmers and the little people. It's just that their system and methodology does not include the farmer or the small people. It's the same argument I have when I'm trying to deal with the bigger player. Oh, it's so much easier to deal with one entity than dealing with 200 small
Of
farmers.
course,
They just cause
logistic,
confusion
paperwork,
and
confusion,
yeah,
bureaucracy, waste of time.
and you could enjoy the smaller farmers because it's so easy to get them to fight among themselves.
And you
just
could write a
divide-
book about them later.
Yeah, you just divide them and you watch them like crabs in a barrel fighting among themselves whilst you go in and make your big profit.
You see, my brother, the G7 have the economic policies, they have the tax policies, they sit down and design the security policy, the energy policy, the oil policy. And then they're competing with China with the Belt and Road,
Yeah.
China, Russia, and Africa with the Belt and Road.
Absolutely.
So we now come like little pawns in big people game. And we have to develop the skills and talents to demele, to benefit ourselves.
Yes, I agree with you. And sometimes I think, where are our thinkers? And that's where I kind of jump onto a different road. I'm saying our system of government is not designed to get the best for the people, because if you look at the American system, each of the departments are run by professional, but we take the parliamentary system from Britain. We take a man, he might be a farmer, he run for election, next day he's Minister of Agriculture. Has no real skills, he has no real strategies for agriculture, and now he's leading a ministry. Well, we set ourselves up. The Americans, the executive are run by professional people, highly qualified in terms of making sure that the departments are well run and they get the best from the departments. Now, for us, we have the old British parliamentary style model.
But whose responsibility it is that we have not refined our model? We have independence.
Yeah, well, and that one is hard because I have to take some of the blame. You have to take some of the blame.
Us.
All of us have to take some of the blame. We're just so happy to carry on with what we take over. And we don't examine, is it working for us? How can we make it work for us? We're so inclined and so happy to be in third division. Every so often we get a little kind of building from a place like maybe Japan, because Japan want us to vote with them and say they could keep killing the whales.
Sick, and nothing is wrong with that. Everybody seeks their interests.
Yeah.
I think the first thing we have to understand as a people, that these countries seek their interests.
Yes.
United States, Russia, the G7, China and Belt and Road is to counteract American dollar.
Yes.
And being is the most powerhouse in Belt and Road, she go benefit the most.
Yeah.
So we have to come up with a view. If we are pushing tourism and we want to link agriculture and tourism, it must be, how do we do that?
Absolutely, 100% agree. We just get a system thrown at us and we take it and we run with it. We don't examine it to see how we can benefit. We don't examine it to see how we can refine it. We don't examine it to see how we can have continuous improvement. We get thrown down our throat, oh, you're going to get employment. But you can't run a hotel without staff. That is not something we are getting.
You practically say now is our initiative through the American broad policy to keep our backside quiet, give us the CBI program.
Yeah.
Right? So now we get the money from the CBI program. We give foreigners to build a hotel.
Yes.
With the hope that we will benefit from the hotel.
Yeah.
We give them all the concession. We give them the money.
Yeah.
So what happened to our people?
Yeah. Well,
why our people in build the hotel?
Mr. Pierre, our people are living in hope, as they once said, and the Prime Minister is living in Happy Hill. That was the old Prime Minister. So the same thing still happens. we're living in hope. I don't know where this prime minister is
Then we
living.
must continue to channel the discussion among us to provoke individuals to
Yes,
accept
yeah.
think tank.
We need to raise the awareness. I mean, it hurts me to think of what's going on in terms of the CBI project and the hotel. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that we are not included.
But it's not a bad thing, but it's not so much a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
About 10%, about 10 cents on every dollar.
Yeah.
I think that is old statistics I have,
Yeah.
of the tourist money goes back to the
Yeah.
country the tourists come.
Yeah.
So Grenada get 10 cents.
Yeah.
So
That's
what could we do to get 25 cents?
Yeah, I think you're right. You're asking the right question.
If we look at the cocoa, the cocoa industry has been with us for eternity. It's supposed to be export on cocoa now. Now, if the tourists want chocolate, do we have enough chocolate to sell them? Do we have cocoa tea to sell them? Do we have cocoa and farine to sell them? Do we have the creams and things you make with cocoa to sell them? Do we extract?
Yeah, but the first thing we should do is when the cruise ship come in, that they have to take all those things, because the reason why the tourists don't buy so much is because everything they want is on the boat.
You have inclusive package.
Yeah, the inclusive package.
And obviously they buy plenty from the Chinese ship to sell for us inclusive.
Yeah, so the tourist ships, need to take a percentage from the little island like us. We have excellent cocoa. I'm sure in Jamaica they take Blue Mountain coffee because that is such a well-known product all over the world.
Well advertised.
Yeah.
What we like to do is to go and dance and wine for the tourists to come to see us. Happy-go-lucky people, well dressed up, gyrating and whining good.
But Mr. Pierre, I like to see that as well.
Well, I like it too. I like it too. I ain't saying any of that. But I'm just saying we must constantly put emphasis on maximizing our return from the tourist agriculture trade.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% in terms of that. We need a more coordinated approach to tourism. It cannot be just giving the airlines concession to fly in.
We pay to bring the people coming.
Yeah, we pay
Is
to
that
bring.
interesting trading?
Yeah,
We sell passports. We give them the money to build hotel. We pay to bring the people come. And then we buy food to feed the people.
Yeah.
So at some time we have to see how could we maximize returns.
Yeah. How could we be part of that circular tourism? And it has to be national policy. Without national policy support, we're going to just be kind of doing the rum shot.
We just a joke for the entertainment of others.
Oh, Lord.
We have nutmeg. How do we maximize the return on nutmeg? We have fish. How do we that have to be the emphasis.
Yeah, and it could be simple things as this. You have a special officer showing the uses of nutmeg. He or she goes to every hotel and demonstrate to them the different uses of nutmeg. So we could use nutmeg right here at home.
In addition to that, we have scientists that go to university.
Yeah.
Agronomists.
Yeah.
We have food technologists. When they come back, they can't even improve the life of dashing. But they're well educated.
Yeah.
But we have not challenged them
to
improve the life of nothing.
Yeah.
So if a man is an agronomist, I must able to go to his plot to see what he does in his spare time as an agronomist. But he brings me to another farm. I want to go to your farm to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
To see if you could practicalize your certificate into some productive measure.
And that's been an issue, Mr. Pierre, over the years. There's been a gap between academic and practical. And I wish and I pray that gap would close.
Yeah. You say you pray the gap between academic
the gap would close so that, we have practical people who are well-trained, not just well-trained people, but not practical.
Yeah. Well, you have people who are well-trained, but they might be better teachers or authors, so they could write book. But They're unable to be productive.
Yeah, but one of the things that I grieve about is I don't hear from our intellectuals in terms of Grenada. I don't see any papers coming out. I don't see a different economic vision for Grenada. It's just more of
We
the
have
same.
to provoke them. I believe I'm very happy and pleased. I see a number of people on social media today, and I expect some more to come, where we will provoke the system to work. But again, while we talk about cocoa, nutmeg, fish sauce up, honey, flowers, bush for medicine, what about poultry?
Poultry is about to take off after years and years of struggling in the wilderness. I have a good feeling about poultry. We have a major investor in Crowshoe, Felix Park, that's about to open his door in the next probably 2 months or less. They have an integrated poultry unit where they can grow about 50,000 birds to begin with every 6 weeks. They can bring that up to about 66,000 in the second year. They have proper state-of-the-art poultry processing facility. They will have good quality feed, and they'll be hatching the baby chicks every 2 weeks, I'm told. So poultry will open up. The project in Montrose that a lot of people criticize me about and say, what happened to the project? Well, I believe that project will come on stream pretty soon. I think, I hope that Mr. Telesworth, Right Honorable Telesworth now, is working on the project, and that will open up again pretty soon. I know Kobe Williams' project, Kobe had shut that down, but I'm still hoping that those doors would open. But
there might be satellite farms, Studio One, and
yeah, the contract farmers they call them. So, Mr. The one in Felix Park, Mr. Crossdale, he's going to have contract farmers, but that's probably going to be in year 2. The first year is going to focus on the mother plant, as they call it, refining the parent plant, all the kinks, all the kind of glitches, all the little problems, etc. And so the second year, look forward to the contract. I think there's been about 4 or 5 farms that have been identified to work with them already, who were there almost 7 years ago when the project started at the door of Mr. Crossdale, begging him to include them. So I think some have been identified. They probably haven't been given the go-ahead yet, but they've been identified. So that's a major boost for Grenada. And I'll tell you why.
We spend millions of dollars on
yeah.
importation of poultry.
Yeah, we import maybe about 30 million chicken every year. And the economists say that you have to do a money circulation figure. Usually you take the figure and you multiply it by 7 times, a minimum. So if we multiply 30 million by 7, it's about 210 million. So if that money circulating in our rural economy, straight away, the little shopkeeper will start trusting us saltfish again. Now we can't even get saltfish
Well,
on
we
trust.
really need something in the rural economy,
Yeah.
because we're in trouble.
Yeah, I think that poultry is going to be transformational. And from what I'm hearing, the government are one of the drivers of getting the poultry industry back on stream. Now, it started with the NNP. Minister Oliver Joseph and the minister in Guava up there, who was Minister of Trade at the end, Dabrio. They were instrumental in setting up the system and engaging, Caribbean Agro with the feed mill and getting the enabling environment on the ground. And this government, I'm sure Deacon would say that, the previous government did the groundwork and they have taken it on.
They continue with the process.
And they continue with it. And I'm very pleased with them because the technical work is what I believe that they're doing now. So in order to have an industry, you have to have proper regulations in place. Now, if you look at the OECS regulations, so for example, just to use Barbados as an example, so chicken going into Barbados have to pay a duty of 182% on average. It's probably more than that.
But they're telling you, don't bring it.
Yeah, it's probably more than 182%. In Grenada, you could bring chickens into Grenada for 0%. So if you want to bring wings in, there's no duties on wings. If you want to bring back a neck in, there's no duty on back and neck. There's a small duty on breast and leg thighs or leg quarters.
Leg quarters and
yeah. So if we're going to have an industry, a poultry industry in Grenada, the regulation has to be in place. Our regulation is the same design that G7 had. The G7 design is for countries like ourselves to import. So our tax system is designed to import. It's not designed for us to have a poultry industry, which will create about 7,000 jobs, which will give us 210 million money circulation.
But are we planning to export?
Well, we can't even feed ourselves with what we're producing. The whole market is so big.
So the market is principally geared for us to provide for ourselves.
Yes, it's geared to, and not only that, we have the major hatchery on island now. We could export chicks to St. Vincent, to Antigua, to St. Lucia, to Dominica.
Because now they buy from Barbados.
Yeah, that is where they export it. Barbados is not part of the OECS. OECS. They're part of CARICOM.
They're part of CARICOM.
Yeah, we are part of the OECS. And the reason that we were part of the OECS is because we were so small. And if you group us together...
The others didn't want us.
Yeah.
the LCD, the LCDs, less developed countries. LDS,
yeah.
Less developed countries.
Yeah.
So all of us is third world, but you are the more developed. So Jamaica, Barbados, Belize, the Bahamas, and Trinidad.
I think when you put all of us together in the OECS, we didn't even make a million.
Yeah. So the less developed countries in the third world, in the CARICOM, but with less developed.
Yeah, but except your analogy is not totally correct because we are considered second world country. And because we're considered second world country, it means we can't get concessionary loan in many instances. Our loans are given to us at a higher rate of interest.
They say we're doing better now. I think Barbados is in that category too.
Yeah, we classified as second world country, not third world.
Yeah. We get promotion so they could deny us money.
Yeah, so that we could pay them more. For every dollar Europe gives the developing world pays back $13 to Europe.
Well, that makes a lot of economic sense.
Yeah, so that's economics for you. So when you think you're getting aid, you're not getting aid.
And then sometimes when we hear this thing in Europe, because we have a number of Grenadians very communists in the thought, although most of the communists gone away. China have the Belt and Road Initiative, and it's the same policy. They're generally trying to have a counteract the U.S. dollar.
Yeah,
the U.S. dollar is used most for international trade.
Yeah,
based upon that agreement the G7 had, I think was in 1921. No, 2021. When they sit down and deal with the corporate tax.
Yeah, they refined it after
tax.
1945 in the Bretton Woods Agreement.
Yeah.
But one of the things that important to understand, in terms of coming out of this colonial system and dominated by the West, is that when you look at the Chinese policy and you look at the history of our policy, the colonial policy has been brutal towards us, really brutal, especially in Africa where they've wiped out almost whole country. I look at the Chinese policy in terms of the economic policy, and I must say it's more humanistic than what we've experienced.
Well, it was done to counteract, so it's more palatable. It seems
the
and appear
Chinese,
to be more palatable.
they appear more humanistic. And you might argue, well, they don't get involved in local politics and this and
They
that.
don't care if you kill one another. In short, the Chinese don't care if you kill one another. What is important is the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that statement of yours is totally true, but it's thought-provoking.
Yes, so as we come to the end of the program, we have about 5 minutes more. We have about 5 minutes for the program. All right, 5-6 minutes. So
could I share a little bit
of
more
course,
on poultry?
well, that is why I zeroed in on the poultry.
Okay.
Obviously, we can't deal with all aspects of the poultry today.
Yeah.
But we want to whet your appetite that it seems eventually we coming around.
Yeah,
to have
imminent.
the
The poultry factory is imminent. We're talking about 2 months before opening. And, we're talking about creating an environment where things like day-old chicks will be much less expensive.
And just a while, remember we have the number 410-3030. 410-3030. We've been speaking and we didn't repeat that number with enough regularity. 410-3030. And if you make a comment on we will play it out. So you could give us a call. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, the poultry is imminent. We will be supplying, all the supermarket, restaurants, and anybody who wants fresh quality poultry, we will be supplying. A lot of investment has gone into this project, and it's not a CBI project. And I can assure you there's been over 30 million spent already on that project, and there's still more to be spent. It's going to transform Grenada. It's the beginning of the
transform the poultry industry.
Yeah, it's going to transform Grenada as a whole.
That's a big word.
Yes, because we are going to be able to come to Paraclete, and the shopkeeper's going to know we're involved in poultry, and they're going to start trusting us the saltfish again.
Okay.
So we'll be able to trust our saltfish again.
Well, once you could trust saltfish, it's a good sign.
Yeah, So it's going to be big. It's going to be major. And the message I'm getting is that the regulators as well as the investors are all working harmoniously together to make this a reality. We have to make it a reality. There's too much at stake. There's no reason why poultry farmers shouldn't be driving their nice pickups, sending their children to school, sending them to university,
Do you expect
having a nice home.
poultry
That is my
farmers
dream.
As a result of that project? If it is successful, 2 or 3, 4 years from
When
now,
it's successful.
do you expect less poultry farmers but better poultry farmers?
I expect less and better. And that has been what has happened in America. When the vertical integration model came in, there were less poultry farmers, but they were better quality and they were bigger. And it was no longer a backyard thing. It was a professional job that they did, and they've been. That changed in the 50s in America. And the poultry farmers from the 50s, their grandchildren are still in that poultry business, making money like nothing.
Well, a lot of the Americans like to say I'm a third-generation agriculturist or third-generation police.
Yeah.
No, you don't know. One generation. By the time the original parent reach incapacitated or they get old, they sell all the business for somebody else.
It's very hard in Grenada, and I see it all the time. I see like young farmers, they start a plot, and it's going for about 6 months a year, and then the plot is abandoned because farming is technical and it's hard, to kind of get that. Often the farming, the prices are up and down, etc. And somebody once said to me, Josh, if you want farming to work in Grenada, there's one thing you have to do. Set a recommended price for the products. People could sell over it or under it. But that recommended price will stabilize it and give hope to the young farmers who
Do
are
you
coming through.
believe that it is absolutely necessary for government to subsidize farming?
Do you believe that it's absolutely necessary for government to subsidize
farming.
tourism?
You answer the question with a question.
Well, that is common in the English language. You know, when you want to hit
normally, if New Zealand could have sold snow, they would have subsidized it. And farmers have to remember that any country in the world where 80% of your people are directly, indirectly involved in agriculture are poor countries. So sometimes to have a better agriculture, we have to have less farmers involved.
Yeah.
So once you enter poultry as a economic viable project, you have to see yourself to expand and get bigger.
Yeah.
Because there is hardly any room for the subsistent farmer.
Yeah. Government don't really
realm of things.
Yeah, government don't really have to subsidize. They have to create the enabling environment.
I like that word.
And what I would do, I would say to the CBI project, any kind of projects that you engage in, you have to take 20% of your food from local producers. You should also invest 20% of the infrastructure in agriculture. Government don't have to put in a penny.
Yes, my friend, thank you very much for this discussion today as we spoke about the G7 and some of the economic impact, and that countries like ours must be more, our intellectuals to act as think tank, the Ministry of Agriculture, the ordinary man on the street, and see how we could benefit more from the things that we do, because we have to demele between the big players. And we thank you again for being on Studio Galaxy 473, operating from Confaro in Paraclete. We encourage you to share our program with the new kid on the block. Give us a blight. Tell people about us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Can I just conclude by saying the international systems and structures that we operate in under was not designed for us. It was designed for the G7. We have to find a home within that system.
Yes, we have to demele.
Yeah.
We have to find a niche.
Yeah, we have to find a niche.
Thank you very much, and we want to thank our technician.
Say whoa, 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 whoa. Say whoa, 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 whoa. Ready now, me ready now. A time to share, a time to care, a time to happy. But the whole year just went and you forgot it. Too much disguising on your love. I know I come tell the eye about Merry Christmas. Lord, you need to give a little. You get your riddle. You need to show the people something more. Don't make the heart shiver when fear is driven and end up losing it. But I'ma make it, Youth's born for greatness, For you see I and I own cheddar with one amount of hard labor. You know see I and I own cheddar with one amount of hard labor. So till Santa